Good morning. Welcome to the program agenda. I'm your host, Cito Beltran, welcoming you back to reality. The reality that we all will have to go back to work, all go back home, and go to our normal grind. But before anything, for those of you who are still enjoying your vacation, in vacation mood, please do not ruin your vacation by rushing away from it. Naisip ko yan kagabi because many of you will be rushing back to Manila, coming from the provinces, rushing back from abroad, etc. And there is a tendency that when you rush back, you stress yourself. You get into arguments with your wife, your girlfriend, boyfriend, your best friends, your children, and with the people at the airport or whoever. And what happens is you go back to reality already in a foul mood. So whatever you do, take it one step at a time. That's what the vacation was supposed to do. Chill you, okay? Bumalik kami kahapon, maaga pa lang. Early morning, we drove back from Batangas and we are back here in Barrio Capitolio, Pasig. Okay, today is April 10, 2023. It's a Monday. Welcome to the program agenda and thank you to the subscribers of Cignal TV. And of course, viewers of One News and all of you who watch us via Facebook and YouTube, maraming salamat po. Also, PLDT, Home Fiber Optic Internet. Okay, now, let's start the day with a daily starter. And I'm still, sabi nga nila, Holy Week mood pa, Easter Sunday mood pa. And the daily starter, I chose for today comes from C.S. Lewis, the world-renowned writer, legendary literary figure, and he goes, "Love is never wasted, for its value does not rest upon reciprocity." Okay, it will be related to our topic for discussion today. But as our daily starter for today, let me point out, marami sa ating nasawi, nabigo, nasaktan. And I have to confess, marami rin tayong nasaktan, nakasakit tayo. Okay, so when you read that daily starter, you might be thinking, I wasted my time on that guy. I wasted my time on her. She did not return my love, or he just walked all over me. And that's what C.S. Lewis is saying. Love is not based on reciprocity or gantihan o suklian. Okay? Love is given freely, unconditionally, because if you have conditions, if you have expectations, then it's not love, it's a business arrangement or a social contract. Medyo iba yun, okay? Love does not, sabi nga, read Corinthians chapter 13, if I'm not mistaken, and it spells out what love is. You know, it's not jealous, it's not proud, it's not boastful, it's not hurtful, etc. It gives freely. Okay, so love is never wasted, for its value does not rest upon reciprocity. Its value is the fact that you showed love for others. Okay, let's now go to the front page of the Philippine Star. And the headline is, aray ko po, reality strikes again. ASF spreads to 460 towns, 54 provinces. Okay. If there's any good in all of this, at least the Bureau of Animal Industry is monitoring and reporting what we already know. Okay, everyone, even in the provinces, they already know that ASF is all over the place. Doon na lang yata sa Batanes and a few other localities or municipalities ang walang ASF. But as far as the BAI is concerned, it's practically all over the country. Okay, so next up, we have from the top of the front page, NCRPO, or the National Capital Region Police Office, has declared that it will remain on heightened alert until May 1. Nothing to be extra concerned about. The NCRPO is simply making sure that police presence is there because we still have holidays up to May 1, which is the largest celebration of laborers for Labor Day. The big photo that you keep seeing there is a photo that was released, or a handout image released on Saturday, showing a pilot operating an aircraft of the Air Force under the Eastern Theater Command of China's People's Liberation Army during a combat readiness patrol and joint sword exercises around Taiwan. Okay, inset shows a Taiwanese fighter jet landing at an Air Force base in Hsinchu, northern Taiwan yesterday. Yan po, because the president of Taiwan made a transit stopover in the United States and spoke with the Speaker of the House of the U.S. and kinainis po yan ng China, which said don't do it, but it still took place. Okay. Meanwhile, the U.S. declared that they are monitoring China's drills around Taiwan. Okay, the United States is monitoring China's drills around Taiwan closely and has sufficient resources and capabilities regionally to ensure peace and stability. The de facto U.S. Embassy in Taiwan said yesterday. Okay. And below that, you have a photo of Pope Francis bestowing the plenary Urbi et Orbi to the city and to the world, blessing from the Central Lodge of St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican at the end of the Easter Sunday Mass yesterday. It is a very important piece of news because Pope Francis returned to the public eye for Easter Mass after fighting off bronchitis and other complication following his hospitalization for bronchitis at the end of March. So ngayon lang po siya talagang out and about, and he went on a procession in his Pope Mobile and gave his speech where he spoke about the problems in Ukraine and Russia, between the Israelis and the Palestinians, and the need for everyone to pray for all of this, including na rin yung nangyayari sa Taiwan. Okay. Meanwhile, to the right of that photo, we have a news item. Medyo mabigla kayo. Kainit-init. It's summer, in the middle of summer, or well, it's beginning of summer, I should say. Tropical depression to enter the Philippines on Wednesday. Ewan ko po kung magkakatotoo ito. A low-pressure area, or LPA, is expected to enter the Philippine area of responsibility near Mindanao last night. May develop into the first tropical cyclone of the year by Wednesday. Okay, once the LPA turns into a tropical depression, it will be named among the first storm to enter the PAR amid the threat of an El Nino year. Okay, so paalaala lang po, no? Paalaala lang sa mga kaibigan natin, kung magkatotoo po ito, if this actually happens, you know, this weirdly timed tropical storms or depression, okay, often turns into bad scenarios. So please be prepared. Huwag niyo sabihin, ay salamat Lord, uulan. Baka po kayo bahain dyan. Okay, so meanwhile, DOST Council's Facebook hacked. Okay, the Facebook account of the Department of Science and Technology's Philippines Council for Industry, Energy, and Emerging Technology Facebook account was hacked during the long Lenten holidays. Naku po, pati po yung mga hackers walang magawa noong Holy Week. So ayun, nambwisit na lang sila. Ipasa Diyos na natin sila. Okay? Bit of sad news. And we'd like to express our condolences to Justice Art Panganiban because retired Professor Elenita Lenny Panganiban passed away yesterday due to cardiac arrest. She was 83. Panganiban was a professor for 37 years at the Asian Institute of Management and is the best friend, wife of former Supreme Court Chief Justice Artemio Panganiban. Okay, then we have a photo. At least ito naman, good news na, last two. Tapales Snatches, WBA IBF crown. Okay, there's the photo. Marlon Tapales displays the World Boxing Association and International Boxing Federation super bantamweight crowns after stripping Uzbek Muro John Akhmadaliev of the titles with the split decision at the Boeing Center at Techport in San Antonio, Texas yesterday. Okay. And last piece of news, SIM card registration hits 62 million. Umabot na po. It has reached 62 million according to the Department of Information Communications Technology. Okay, yan na po. So that's all the news we have on the front page of the Philippine Star. And I invite all of you to please read it. And also read my column in the Philippine Star. Today is all about the sewingministry.com. Okay, yung ba yung kung nananahi ka at sabi mo parang ganito na lang ba ang buhay ko, read the column because it's a story about how many of us go through life thinking our lives are so simple, thinking, nako, ano bang mangyayari sa buhay ko, etc. I want to be significant without realizing that even mothers, housewives are contributing to the nation unbeknownst to them. Okay, let's now go for a quick break. When we return, I will introduce to you our guest and what our topic is all about here on Agenda. Welcome back to the program agenda. And our topic for today is something that is important to men and women, husband and wives, partners, live-in relations, and even those who are simply dating. Because I believe it was about a month ago or less than a month ago when the Supreme Court came out with a decision. And in that decision, they said that when a husband, or in this particular case, the husband who abandoned his wife and daughter, gave up child support, and cohabited with another woman. In other words, nagkaroon ng kabit, nagkaroon ng girlfriend na binuntis, who him impregnated. When the case was brought by the wife to the court, it went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said that it falls under the law on violence against women and children. Now, it was not given the correct attention in public, in media, etc., and most people just brushed it aside. But it is a decision that by some measure is a landmark decision because medyo simplifies the equation. Kumbaga, di ka magsuporta, guilty ka sa violence against women and children. Meron kang i-cohabitate, nangaliwa ka, binuntis mo, iniwanan mo pamilya mo, guilty ka. Why? Because it falls under abuse, mental abuse, etc. Now, I'm not a lawyer, so we decided to find someone who could teach us today. Because even if you're just dating someone, you could get into a situation na baka madali kayo book. And I want to find out also if it can be vice versa. Kasi in this case, that went to the Supreme Court, it was a woman, a wife who was based in Singapore, came back to the Philippines and took the matter to court. But as we all know, there are also many women abroad who have now cohabited and even had children by other men. So let's find out what the situation is by introducing a legal expert, a professor, a dean. Gab, please roll out the Betamax.
Attorney Maria Soledad Mawis is the Dean of Lyceum of the Philippines University College of Law. Mawis is also the founding partner of the Gatchalian, Castro and Mawis law firm. Aside from this, she is a bar examinations reviewer for persons and family relations, evidence, and civil procedure.
Okay, good morning, Dean. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Cito, and happy Easter, first of all.
Okay, that's much appreciated. And I don't know yung timing ng aking topic for today, but I'm really concerned because this decision of the Supreme Court was not given a lot of media attention. Neither did the women's organization or even our government officials put more light on it. And so sabi ko, pag hindi ito pinakalat, maraming malilintikan. So Dean, could you just give us first of all, let's familiarize ourselves with you first. You are the Dean of Law at the University of Lyceum, right?
Yes, Lyceum of the Philippines University, yes. Okay,
Lyceum of the Philippines University. Now, how does one become dean? Kasi during my time, kailangan ugod-ugod ka na bago ka maging dean. Batang-bata ka pa.
Yeah, I remember I've been dean for about 14 years already. So I was in my late 40s, I think. And then I was interviewed by the Laurels. And then I prayed. And then I became dean. That's how it was.
So, I suppose it was simply competency and trust of the founders of the university.
I hope so. Yes.
Okay. So you have a specialization, which is our topic for discussion. Now, how many years does it take to be have a specialization in family relations, civil procedure, etc.?
It's more of based on experience. I've been practicing the subject for quite some time. And to complement my practice, I also teach the subject. And that's the reason maybe I would like to think I'm comfortable with the subject. So it's really experience in both in, actual experience and theoretical experience.
Is it also because there is a valley full of these cases, or that the Philippines is the center of all of these problems, or is it more of a personal thing for you?
It's not the personal thing. I remember I started practicing the subject when I was with 3 men in a law office. We were partners, and I was only the woman's partner at the time. So when it comes to family relations, they thought and I felt that I was comfortable in handling it, especially on sensitive matters such as pangaliwa, support and the like. So again, I guess it was just fate that brought me into this topic, and that's the reason why I didn't leave the topic anymore. I really felt comfortable with it.
Okay. For many years, I have observed that when you take issues such as adultery, concubinage, anything that has to do with marital infidelity, talagang, it's an uphill climb for women.
Yes.
The odds were always against women, etc. Now, how does the Supreme Court ruling change the landscape?
Okay, in the case of triple X versus people, that is the case involving marital infidelity that was considered by the Supreme Court as a form of domestic violence. Okay, it changed the landscape because prior to this, when a husband, has had sexual intercourse with a woman other than the wife, it's so difficult to prove concubinage. There are so many ways of committing concubinage, but it's very difficult to prove. And what are these ways? Keeping a mistress in the conjugal dwelling. It's very seldom that you will see a man bring the paramour in the conjugal dwelling. Having sexual intercourse under scandalous circumstances with a woman who is not his wife. But what is scandalous? Or cohabiting with her in any other place. The third one is kumbaga sa tatlo, yan ang pinakamadali na ma-prove. But again, the men will not cohabit. It's something that is a secret. So that's the reason why they say that proving concubinage is really difficult. But with the Supreme Court ruling in the case of triple X versus people, it's not concubinage per se that is being prosecuted. It is the emotional or psychological violence that the woman or the child suffered by reason of the man's marital infidelity. So, yung epekto dun sa babae at dun sa bata. Remember, this VAWC, RA 9262, ang victim niyan is either the woman, okay, the ex-wife, the wife, the one who he has a dating or sexual relationship, or even the minor child. Okay? So, miski yung bata pwede magreklamo. And marital infidelity now becomes the means by which the woman suffered psychological violence. And that's the reason why, in this case, to me, this is a landmark case because I don't have to prove, the elements of concubinage. What I have to prove will be the elements of RA 9262 to ensure that there will be a conviction.
Okay.
And what are the elements?
Yeah, what are those?
Okay, the elements, the offended party is a woman and or her child or children. The woman is either the wife or the former wife of the offender, or is a woman with whom the offender has or had a sexual or dating relationship, or is a woman with whom such offender has a common child. As for the woman's child or children, they may be the legitimate child, they may be the illegitimate child. We now refer to them as marital or non-marital children, living within or without the family abode. The offender causes on the woman or child mental or emotional anguish. And finally, the anguish is caused through acts of public ridicule or humiliation, repeated verbal and emotional abuse, denial of financial support, or custody of minor children, etc. So, mas mataba yung elemento na kailangan ito, hindi yung elemento ng concubinage. Kaya, ito yung landmark case. Hindi ko kailangan patunayan na nagkaroon, for example, ng pagtatalik sa ibang lugar, inuwi yung mistress sa bahay. Hindi kailangan. Dito kailangan ko lang.
Let's go this step by step. Ito yung sinasabi ko eh. It's like opening a Pandora's box eh, no? Okay. First, of course, it involves a woman filing a complaint. The woman, the status of the woman is what? Must it officially be married? Living in? Kasi may mga legal categories na ginigiba ng mga lawyers, right?
Ito ay, ang woman ay dapat asawa or former asawa. Yan ang offended party. Or a woman with whom the offender has or had a sexual or dating relationship. Ito lang talaga yung medyo iffy ako dito because miski girlfriend pwede magdemanda, technically speaking. Kasi has or had a sexual or dating relationship. Yan
because the sexual relationship, dating relationship is more in the context of women or young women na ginulpe, binugbog, or who were mentally, psychologically abused by boyfriends.
Yes.
Okay, so that is the context of violence against a woman as far as that law is concerned. Para lang maintindihan ng mga viewers natin. So the law on violence against women per se does not refer specifically to married couples. It is to women in general.
Yes, very correct. Very correct. Yes.
Pasensya ka na kasi marami nga nagsusumbong sa akin, pinagugulpi sa akin yung boyfriend nila. Okay.
And of course, ang isa pang offended party dyan ay yung anak nila. No? Whether legitimate yung anak or illegitimate yung anak, whether yung anak ay nakatira sa kanila o hindi nakatira sa kanila. So clearly, by law itself, hindi pwedeng maging offended party ang lalaki. Ang pwede lang maging offended party ay yung babae o yung anak.
Okay. As far as the law on violence against women and children. Mabuti sinabi mo. Good thing you raised that point because I was already drifting towards the impression that this decision was a matrimonial, infidelity issue. No, the decision of the Supreme Court was, they said, bulaga, voila, this falls under violence against women. So,
if I may clarify, this case involved a married woman. Okay, silang dalawa. So, at saka yung act na is marital infidelity. Knowing lawyers, hindi kasama yan sa walang marital infidelity tayong pag-uusapan kung ang pag-uusapan natin ay girlfriend o live-in relationship. But
correct.
On the other side, it's infidelity per se. Okay, that causes psychological or emotional violence. Pwede rin maaniya. Kaya medyo controversial yung decision. Kasi pwede ba itong mag-apply dun sa mag-boyfriend-girlfriend? Pwede ba itong mag-apply sa live-in partners? And marital infidelity yung pinag-uusapan natin.
Yeah, the case in the Supreme Court started from marital infidelity, but ended up being found as a violation against the or as an act violating the woman and the children. So kahit na hindi kasal, even if you are not married, if you actually lived with a woman and you have a child with a woman or children with a woman and you refuse to provide or you threaten, it all falls under violence against women and children.
Yes, that can open now that possibility. Because even if the Supreme Court said that marital infidelity is a form of psychological violence, part of the matter is the law does not say that it's limited only to the offended party is not only, a married woman. It can also be a woman who's not married with a man but been living with him for quite some time. Even those who had the former had wife or had a dating or sexual relationship can be considered as offended parties. But
Okay,
as I said,
Yeah. Sorry, no, malikot talaga yung utak ko eh. I am suddenly reminded of relatives of certain individuals who also harassed, abused, committed violence against the girlfriend or the spouse of their favorite son, their único hijo, or, trying to protect the family wealth. Papatay mo na lang yan. I'm sorry, I'm not being crass. It actually happens.
Yes, that is very true. Kaya, as I said, that's the reason why, to my mind, people talk about this case only because can a girlfriend of long standing file an RA 9262 case if her boyfriend 2 times her, nag-2 timing sa kanya.
Oh.
Posible. Kasi hindi naman basta ang importante dito, yung infidelity nag-cause ng psychological violence dun sa tao. In other words, psychological violence is the element of the violation of crime. Just like the mental anguish or emotional anguish caused on the victim. So psychological violence is the means employed by the man, while mental or emotional anguish is the effect or that was the one or the damage sustained by the offended party. Kaya ang dito, hindi yung pangangaliwa per se. Kung hindi kailangan mo magkaroon ng connection, yung pangangaliwa ba, nag-cause ba yan ng emotional or psychological effect dun sa offended party? They have to go. Unlike in concubinage, walang yung effect, wala yung cause, I'm sorry. Ang tinitignan lang ng aliwa, period. Okay? Ito hindi. So, RA 9262, dapat pakita mo rin yung epekto dun sa babae o dun sa anak nila ng pangangaliwa. Kaya mas malawak ito kung tutusin.
Hey, but aren't you worried? And I'm just, I'm being a journalist here or just being I just need to ask all the questions. Paano yung iniwanan ng boyfriend?
Exactly.
Let's say, grabe ka, I gave you the 4 or 5 or 10 of the best years of my life and you just dumped me. Paano yun, attorney? Dean?
That is a very valid concern. Because the offended party, as we discussed earlier, can also be the girlfriend, not just the wife. Can be the woman who this man had lived for quite some time in the concept of common law wife. Kaya medyo talagang dapat tugunan ng pansin to kasi hindi lang to ang offended party ay hindi lamang yung asawang babae. I do agree with you. It's really that's the next best question just in case somebody files a case. Yung mga tinatawag natin, ginost ako, diba? Mga ghosting.
I thank you, Lord. I thank the Lord I'm no longer in that dating world and not in that generation. What? Ginost? Pagkatapos, ginost mo, biglang pwede ka ng kasuhan. I mean, as a Dean of Law of Lyceum, you think that's gonna happen?
I hope not, because I think that's stretching it a bit too far, I mean, ganyan yun hindi pa naman kayo kasawa. Iba yung level na mag-asawa. Iba rin yung level na nagsama ng matagal. But boyfriend, girlfriend, dating relationship, may freedom of choice ka pa rin, di ba? Kasi ayaw mo naman talaga siya maging asawa. But the problem is, the law is very clear. it involves even those who had or has a romantic relationship or dating relationship. So it's not limited only to wife. Okay, it's not
Yeah.
really limited to wife.
But wala bang time limit yan, Dean Mauis? Because, di ba, all I have to, not me naman, all a person has to do is wait 7 years not to see her husband or his wife, and that person can be declared dead.
Sir, I will have to clarify that. No?
Bakit nga?
Under the family code, civil code po yun. Wala na po yun. Wala na po. Sa family code po, it's 4 and 2 years. But you have to file a petition for declaration of presumptive death so that for purposes of remarriage, kung gusto mo mag-asawa, you have to go to court. Okay? And the period is 4 years if it's ordinary ang pagkawala. 4 years lang. Or 2 years if the person got lost under extraordinary circumstances. Example, 2 years, war or the like. No? And then you have to file a petition in court to have that person declared presumptively dead. Then that's the only time you can be married.
Okay,
Unlike
but...
before,
Yeah, but thank you for that clarification. But the question I was really going to ask is, kasi may period for presumptive death and certification. What about period for presumptive you are, common law husband and wife? Kasi parang sabi, hello naman, 7 years kami magkasama, 10 years kaming boyfriend, girlfriend, pagkatapos biglang, tapos naka-live-in pa kami, tapos iniwanan na lang niya ako.
wala akong period po. If the question is, does the crime prescribe? May panahon ba o ng panahon para nyo maidemanda? Yes, there is a prescriptive period. Like any other crime. So, you have to file it within a given time. Depending ho kasi yan sa penalty. Pero can you file a case, matagal na ho kaming hiwalay? The answer is yes, because the law says former. The offended party can include a former husband, a former wife, or a former girlfriend.
Sinabi talaga former girlfriend, attorney?
Ganito ha, what the law says kasi, or has or had a romantic or dating relationship. Had si past tense ko yung had. So, I would like to, kasi there was one case, sir, one case lang, maiba tayo isang kaso, no? Itong kaso to, the boyfriend-girlfriend, and then the ex-boyfriend borrowed money from the ex-girlfriend. Ex-girlfriend lent the ex-boyfriend money. And then the ex-girlfriend, of course, wanted to be paid. So, ulit, demanded money, no? Demanded payback to pay.
Ex na sila nung nag-utangan, ha? Ex na. Okay.
Siguro nakulitan yung ex-boyfriend. So, he physically assaulted the ex-girlfriend because the ex-girlfriend was siguro repeatedly demanding for payment. You know, the ex-boyfriend was convicted of VAWC because that's physical abuse. Ex-boyfriend. So,
okay.
Even if they were just former boyfriend, girlfriend, you can still be convicted of VAWC.
Okay, now, here's the thing, because pag mayaman, when people, rich people say, oh, we're just living in, we're just, we got this thing. Pero pag mahirap, parang common law wife, common law husband. Parang, how does the law differentiate? How does the law clarify this under the law on violence against women and children?
Well, the law is whether rich or poor, the law will be applied equally. It's not a question of being capable. It's not for being rich or poor. As long as the elements are present, you can be convicted for VAWC. At saka,
naging girlfriend mo, pinagbuhatan mo ng kamay, or you mentally abused, or you had a child and you refused to provide support. Meron ba yung time yung kanina yung prescriptive period na kasi may mga kakilala ko who are still in court who are
Yes.
fighting over custody. And one particular case I know personally, and this is on the side of the men naman, no? Because not all men are jerks, okay? This guy always I've known him, we go we go out together, we pray, and he would send money, they refuse. He would send toys, they refuse. He would try to visit the child, they refuse. And then sabi niya, alam kong merong batas protect that the child goes with the mother. Pero paano
Okay,
yun?
sir. If the child is a legitimate child or a marital child, okay, the presumption is if the child is less than 7 years old, well, the child under the law has chosen the mother. Yan who you cut off yung 7.
Yeah.
Pero doon sa tanong nyo kanina na paano yung mga lalaki ayaw papuntahin, ayaw pakita yung mga anak, the Supreme Court recently promulgated a decision wherein the husband for and in behalf of the child. So technically it was the child who sued. Okay, sued the mother under violence against women and children because the mother's acts, okay, psychologically, the acts resulted to psychological abuse on the child. Okay, so
the guilty party here can be the mother.
Yes, yes. And the one who sued the mother was the child, but because the child was a minor, the child was a minor. The one who filed the case for and behalf of the child was the father. So malaking impact po yan. Okay, for example, to me, theoretically speaking, if the mother, for no reason at all, does not want the father to access the child, and such act creates psychological, that has psychologically damaged the child or it's damaging the child, I think the father can institute an action for and behalf of the child to prove that the mother's acts, which are all unjustified, is causing now psychological violence on the child.
Yeah, like one time the father visited the child in school and na praning the child lost it, started crying, screaming, calling for the security, and my friend said, "Bro, been brainwashed na nila yung anak ko and I'm totally helpless. I don't know what to do." Anyway, attorney, let's go for a quick break. And then para tuloy-tuloy na yung usapan natin at sobrang dami ko na di-discover. I'm sure even our viewers are discovering a lot. We'll go for a quick break. We'll be right back here with Dean Mauis of the Lyceum, Philippines, and we will carry on this conversation.
Thank you.
We have less than 10 minutes to go with our esteemed guest this morning, Attorney Maria Soledad Mawis, also known as Dean Mauis of the Lyceum of the Philippines University College of Law. Okay, Dean Mauis, welcome back. Quick review lang, no? So the Supreme Court came out with a decision where a husband was cohabiting with someone outside of his marriage, had her got her pregnant. The wife filed for ano ba yun? Concubinage ba yun or adultery?
By VAWC, sir. VAWC. RA
VAWC.
19.
VAWC na talaga yung ano.
Opo, hindi po concubinage. VAWC.
Okay. So violence against women and children. Case
Opo.
against the husband. And the Supreme Court said, bravo, it's correct. It falls under violence against women and children because it involved mental abuse. It involved withholding financial support, immorality, which affected the social status of both wife and child, of daughter. So, yun yung decision ng Supreme Court. Now, sabi mo, ang issue dito, it has now become a matter, a subject that is against violence against women and children. It is no longer the usual pathway is usually adultery or concubinage, etc., or immorality. So now you're also saying that pati yung mga girlfriends, mga live-in partner can also take such matters to court and tatamaan ng kidlat yung mga pasaway. So, okay. But you also said that on the reverse, the Supreme Court also came out with a recent decision where a father who was being denied access to a child, being prevented from performing his role and relationship as a parent, went to court on behalf of the child to file a case against the mother. So kahit na lalaki siya.
Actually, sir, it's not a matter of custody. It was the acts of the mother. She was physically harming the child. No, it was not custody. The discussion of custody is a theoretical discussion that it is very possible that it can be, a test case where the father who has not seen the child because the mother refuses for unknown reasons, for unjustifiable reasons, does not want the father to access the child. And if there is an effect on the child, then perhaps you can now, use the theory, of the Supreme Court teaching, use it as your theory to file a case against the mother. But the one that was decided by the Supreme Court did not involve custody. It involved physical terms.
Physical, okay. So,
Yes.
and in like manner, it can also be mental. So like what happened to my friend, the daughter has started to behave strangely, paranoid, violent, fearful. So meron na siyang basis, teka, this is supposed to be my daughter, and she's acting like I am a kidnapper or a monster. So he could actually now go to court and file a violence against children naman, hindi naman against the woman.
Sir, allow me to stress that it's not under his name. He will have to do it for and in behalf of the child. Because under VAWC, the offended party is either the woman or the child, never the man.
But what happens if the child is an illegitimate child?
Same, sir. Because the offended party can be an legitimate or an illegitimate child, which, as I will say, the Supreme Court uses the words marital or non-marital child. Okay. Pag non-marital child siya, okay lang mo yun kasi the non-marital child can be the offended party.
Okay. Now, ito ba a matter of pagalingan lang na abogado? You get a abogado de campanilla and you can have your case thrown out, or how specific, how tight is this Supreme Court decision that it almost makes it impossible to get away?
Ako, naniniwala ko sir, it's not sa galing ng abogado, nasa husay ng ebidensya. Because it all boils down to evidence. What evidence do you have? Okay, you can only win a case based on evidence. Of course, the skill of the lawyer will come in, but that will be very secondary. That's going to be secondary. At the end of the day, it's the evidence you will submit in court that will determine whether you will win a case or not.
Okay, and what are the lawyers' reactions to this? Because after that, I want to ask you about penalties. Kasi most men or per people, parents, whatever, oh, liar, mas mahal pa yung abogado kaysa doon sa kaso.
I mean, yung mga ibang lawyers, but syempre, sir, that's the question really is, what if your boyfriend and girlfriend? The impact of this ruling, I understand clearly if they're married. But what if it's a common law relationship, or let's say girlfriend-boyfriend? Can this ruling be invoked in support of a case against a girlfriend who later found out that tinututay pala siya ng kanyang boyfriend? Of course, that would cause psychological effect on the girlfriend. Well, to me, that's another question altogether. No? And secondly, of course, on the brighter side of it, you don't have to file a case against concubinage. Kasi in concubinage, as I said, it's difficult and there are 3 ways of committing it, which more often the men will not do it, no? Or will do it in secrecy. But here it's different. I don't have to prove those, I don't have to go that route. I have another way. That is the impact on the woman when a man cohabits with or a sexual relationship with another woman. So, yun naman yung brighter side of it naman po.
Okay, now, so, for those who are common law, husband and wife, or living in partners, etc., medyo complicated, pero baka biglang may mag-isip, kakasuhan ko ito, walang yan to, iniwanan ako. But what are the, circumstances, yung parang excruciating circumstance, bigla ito. Ano ba yun? May term kayo sa mga lawyers that adds to the complexity or the gravity of the case. Like, common law wife, hinut-hutan, or girlfriend, she was supporting him for so many years, or he made promises that I will marry you, etc. What are the things that the court will sandali, nahihilo na ako. 2 minutes na lang daw ako. Okay, so what complicates this so much so that the court might say, okay, you have a case, my dear. You can file against your ex-boyfriend.
With this particular form of violence, no? It is it's psychological violence. You have to prove that psychological violence was employed by the perpetrator, and it will consist of any acts, okay, such as, and then the effect will be the mental or emotional suffering or damage sustained by the other party. Dapat meron nga pong psychological, ito ba'y ginagamit po ba niya, kumari ang pera, ginagamit po ba niya ang pera or ang suporta para manipulate yung offended party to act in this way. Now, in this particular case, the marital infidelity caused psychological trauma, not only on the mother, but also on the child. Not on the wife, but also on the child. Kaya yun mo kailangan mapakita. It's not just, marital infidelity per se. Kailangan ipakita din ano yung epekto doon sa asawa. They go hand.
Okay. Kung yung bang gravity of penalty is equal to the number of children?
No, sir. The penalty here kasi hindi naman, sir. 1 count, ang penalty mo is prison mayon. So that's 6 years to 1 day to 12 years. Talagang medyo kulong ho yan. Matagal kulong ho. Kasi hindi na ho yan probationable.
Okay. Well, Dean Mauis, we learned so much this morning. I can only thank God that I have been reformed, and I pray that all the men there, and even the women, the mothers, the wives, the husbands, will all seriously consider what you have shared this morning. Dean, thank you very much, and I hope this won't be the last, and please do keep in touch if any more interesting developments happen, because I got a cup full today from you, Dean.
Thank you very much, sir. And again, happy Easter to you and your staff. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Dean Maria Soledad Mawis, Dean of the Lyceum of the Philippines University College of Law. Thank you very much. Okay, let's now go to our blessing for the week. And it comes from the book of Psalms, chapter 34, verse 18 and 19. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. The righteous person may have many troubles, but the Lord delivers him from them all. I pray that you will keep the faith, remain strong, and God bless all of you. Have a great, wonderful week. Here, please keep it here on agenda. Thank you very much.